In this video, I'm going to share with you the exact 7-step formula that you can begin using today to craft your story and your message in a way that not only connects with your audience, but converts them into paying clients without sounding super salesy. Hi, I'm Devin Rodriguez, and for those of you that might be new here, I'm the founder of Storypreneur, a company that teaches business owners how to leverage the power of storytelling to connect with and convert their audience into paying clients. Okay, so let's jump right into the training. Now, what we're going to be talking today about is the ultimate storytelling formula, which is comprised of 7 C's. And these 7 C's are the same things that Hollywood, your favorite TV shows, actors, movies, and books are using to keep you hooked, to get you engaged, and ultimately to keep you paying them. So let's jump right into what these 7 C's are and how, more importantly, you can use them. So number 1 is that there is always a relatable main character. Now here's the thing. Every single show that you love, every movie that you love why? Because there's a character. But not only that, the character has to be relatable. Now here's the thing, I'm gonna point this towards you. Whenever you're sharing your message, your story with the world for any reason, I'm guessing probably because you want to not only make an impact, but you wanna make some income, a lot of the times you are going to be the main hero. Not all of the time, because in future videos, I'm going to show you exactly how you can find stories that are not yours to tell. But a lot of the times, you're going to be sharing stories about you. You're going to be the relatable main character. But here's the thing. Depending upon who your audience is and what they need, like we've talked about in previous videos, that is going to change, because one thing that's relatable to one audience is not the same thing that's going to be relatable to another audience. For example, I'm not going to talk to accountants about one thing and then talk to dentists about the same exact thing that I talk to the accountants about. It just wouldn't resonate with them. Now, the thing with this relatable main character is that all of the TV shows, movies, etc. that we love so much, guess what the relatable main character has? The relatable main character has a goal that he or she is working towards. Because think about it. What good would entertainment be if there was no goal? In sports, there's always a goal. In the movie, they're always trying to get the girl, escape the prisoner, find the child, do something. There's always a goal that relatable main character is trying to accomplish. So whenever you're thinking about your story and when you're trying to craft and package what you have to offer, think about it in that way. What is the goal of what you're trying to accomplish? Because what's going to happen is the audience is going to resonate with and relate with the journey that you go on to accomplish that goal. They're not going to relate and connect with if you achieved the goal. What they're going to relate and connect with is the journey. So that's the first part, is defining who is the relatable main character and what is the goal that they have, with remembering that it totally depends on who your audience is. Okay, the second thing is that on the character's journey and pursuit of the goal, guess what happens? Well, the relatable main character, 9 out of 10 times, you run into what? You run into some challenges. And those challenges can look like a bunch of different things. For example, you can lose your job. You can gain weight. You can have a breakup. See, there's so many different challenges that come across on your journey. Another challenge could be someone dies. So there's a variety of different challenges that will present themselves on your journey. So whenever you're thinking of number 2, the challenges, think of the roadblocks that continue to pop up as you're going on that journey. So remember, whenever you're thinking about this relatable main character, you're thinking about a goal that you achieved or set out to achieve in the past, right? Because a story is actually something that happened in the past. So as you reflect on your past, start to think about what were the obstacles, what were the things that were challenging, what were the road bumps, what were the hurdles, and those are the things that you have to get clear on. The third thing is that there's always some conflict. Now this is where things get really juicy, because the thing is that there's 2 types of conflict. The first type of conflict is what we call external conflict. Now let's talk about The Pursuit of Happiness, the movie. I'm going to assume that you've seen it because it is a classic. And if you haven't, I will not judge you, but I recommend you go see it. But Chris Gardner, the main character, what was his challenge? His challenge was that he lost his job. Now he had a son to care for, his wife was divorcing him, he was stuck with the child and he was gonna care for him, but now he lost his job, he had no income. So that was his external conflict. Now I have no money. But here is what our audiences and what we as humans relate with more than anything else. And let me preface this by saying that this is exactly why, even if you don't have a rags to riches story, why you might not have a story that is exactly the same to your audience, this is why they will resonate with you. Because most people are just sharing the external conflict and challenges that they are going through, that they lost their job, that things were hard, that someone died. But very few people are doing the second thing, and the second thing is sharing their internal conflict. Now, the internal conflict, you can also replace the word conflict with pain. So there's a conflict and there's a pain that is caused. So now Chris Gardner, he lost his job, he has no money. That's what we see on the outside. But there's something going on in the inside. And that is what we relate with more than anything. Because not all of us have lost our jobs and had to care for our son after wife just divorced us like Chris Gardner. But guess what? We've all been in a position where we felt like we didn't know what we were going to do, where we felt overwhelmed, hopeless, anxious, and like nothing was going to work. So when we share our stories, we don't just say, I went through a really hard time where I lost my job and I had to care for my kid. That's the external. But now the internal says something like, well, I just didn't feel like a man anymore. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to provide for my son. I just didn't feel like I was worth anything. So these internal conflicts or pain, these can be described as our thoughts. These are our feelings. These are our beliefs in the moment as we're going through things. So this is what the audience will resonate with. Why? Because they've also gone through a time when they've thought to themselves, how am I going to make this work? Is it even all worth it? They've all felt overwhelmed, anxious, and had anxiety, and they've all believed that maybe they couldn't figure it out. So when we're sharing our stories, we don't have to make it seem like we're perfect. All we have to do is understand that the audience is not going to resonate only with our external circumstance, but what we're going through on the inside. Okay, now let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is what we call the crossroads. Another way to think about this would be to think about it as the turning point. Think about it as the big decision. Think about it as the point in your life or in the story where the main character had to make a decision. They had to go left or they had to go right. They had to quit or they chose to keep going. They knew that they could not continue doing what they've always done because they were sick of getting what they've always got. It was the point where you just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And specifically, what we do at the crossroads is we don't just tell the audience, I came to a place in my life where I had to make a change. No. What we do is we tell the audience a specific moment. So what we do is we describe that turning point to the audience using a specific moment. So we're not just going to tell them, yes, things got difficult and I had to change. No, instead we tell them a story. We tell them a moment. It might sound something like this. And as I sat there on my bed, I noticed that I just could not continue to live that way any longer. Tears started to come down my eyes and I started to cry. And as I sat there, all I could think was, this will never happen again. And I made up my mind in that moment that things were going to turn around. So this is what I'm talking about. Being descriptive, using a specific moment to capture the picture, to make the audience see clearly in their imagination what you were going through. So the crossroads is the point of the story that your audience is maybe at right now, or where they're going to be at as a result of listening to you share your message. Okay, so number 5 is the decision and the consequence. So in other words, what did you do and what happened? So a decision that you can make was, I either gave up or I kept going. I got a divorce or I stayed in the relationship. I stayed in that job or I left that job. There's always a decision that is made at the crossroads because the main character realizes that things cannot continue as they currently are. But then what's the consequence? What happens as a result of that? Was the problem fixed? Did the problem persist? Were you happy? Did you remain unhappy? What happened? Did you make more money? Did you make less money? Did the risk pay off or did it not? Just sharing with the audience what actually happened there. Okay, now here is where business storytelling comes into play. This is where things like the movies and the books, they don't really touch on these two last points because these are reserved for us as not only entertainers, but as educators. And number 6 is to contemplate. Okay, when I say contemplate, here's the thing you have to begin to understand. That as storytellers, we're not just there to give the audience some hoorah speech and entertain them. No, we educate them, because you never tell a story without a point, and you never tell a point without a story. So in number 6, you want to answer the question, what did I learn? What did you learn from this experience? Okay, so what did you learn? What was the lesson? So what you want to do is write down that lesson, get super clear on it, and it might sound something like this. I learned the fact that in life, before you go to the next level, you first have to take time and pause to reflect upon where you're starting in the first place. Now here's where things get tricky. Let's draw a line here, because nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves. And subconsciously, the audience is thinking 3 things. Number 1, who are you? Number 2, what do you have for me? And number 3, why should I care? So now we're answering the why should I care, and number 7, therefore, is to clarify. Now, when I say clarify, what I mean is to clarify for the audience what's their lesson. And I'm writing lesson very, very, very big. Why? Because it's all about the lesson for the audience. So if you just talk about, I learned, you're going to lose the audience, because they're going to be saying, well, what about me? So it's one thing to say, I learned that before I go and reach a goal, I first have to evaluate where I'm starting from. And then we have these things called transition words. And now I would say something like, now here's the lesson for you all. Before you go off and you set your new goal, think about pausing, reflecting, and asking yourselves the question, well, what is holding me back in the first place? So this is the formula that I want you to go through, use, and evaluate. Down below, I'm leaving actually a free course for you that's going to walk you through even more depth into this ultimate storytelling formula, as well as give you some crazy bonus videos. So you can just download that below for free. But this is the ultimate storytelling formula that you can begin using to really create stories that connect with and convert your audience into paying clients.